Hey everyone, and welcome to SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. My name is Scott Mantz, and I'll be moderating today's conversation. But before we get started, just want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. Now, over the last crazy year and a half or so, the foundation has given over $6.5 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. So if you are a SAG-AFTRA artist and you need help, please ask. If you can help, please give. Information can be found below in the description of this video, and thank you for your support. So without further ado, let's begin our conversation. The show is the Queens Gambit. It is on Netflix, one of the most bingeable shows I have ever watched on Netflix. I watched all 7 episodes again yesterday just to prep for this conversation, and the show has been nominated for 18 Emmys, including Outstanding Limited Series and also including Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Limited Series for our guest of honor today, Thomas Brodie-Sangster. Thomas, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I didn't even know it was 18, actually. That's amazing.
18, like when you hear 18 nominations, and like, how does that feel, and how does it feel to be an Emmy nominee?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm just so happy for the whole production and everyone involved in making it, really. It was such a pleasure to make. I love working with Scott. He's a man about story. He's a man about characters, a man about people. And we made this wonderfully written show all about chess that no one was really expecting to hit the levels that it did. And it's just so nice to see that there are people out there that really want to be told good story. And this is just the cherry on the cake, really. It's nice. It's lovely to have the appreciation for it, initially from the audience and now from the Emmys. So it's I'm just so happy for everyone, really.
Yeah, that's a pretty big cake, 18 nominations. But, Scott, you're talking about Scott Frank, who, in addition to being an executive producer and showrunner, he's also, the director, and he's someone that you worked with before. So I would love to hear how this even came about for you.
So we worked together before on another Netflix show called Godless, which again I think that no one really wanted to make. It's a Western. Westerns aren't really in at the moment, and Scott was like, again, I just want to tell a story and I want it to be a Western, and went to Netflix and they said, okay, yeah, we'll make it, and took a little bit of a risk, and the show did really well, and I had a wonderful time on it, being a cowboy, and then I got a call, I don't know, a year or two later, and Scott told me about this idea that he had for making this show about chess that follows this girl around and kind of gets into the psyche of chess players and the psyche of her as an individual. And he really saw me as playing this slightly provocative chess champion, this kind of slightly narcissistic, egotistical, and then the way he started describing it to me, he started kind of basically describing my character that I had played for him before, which is a cowboy. He said, I see you in a wide-rimmed hat. He wanted me to grow some facial hair back and carry a knife on my hip. So I think he just kind of constantly he only ever sees me as a cowboy. It's not your classical chess champion at all. So he came to me with this idea, and then sent me the script, and I'm not very good at reading scripts. I'm dyslexic and I struggle with words and stuff, but I remember reading through that and just loving the humanity in the story. And I actually said yes before even reading the script, because I trusted in Scott, his writing and his directing. And then went off and started putting costumes on and building this character in this wonderful, mad world. And it's not just Scott either. I mean, it was the same cinematographer and same key crew that was on Godless. So I knew that whole team, and I knew how talented they were, and I couldn't wait to work with them again.
Well, I got to say, in terms of building the character, Benny Watts is he's like a rock star. He's kind of a rock star chess player. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about the conversations you had with Scott Frank about building that character, about really making him your own beyond what was just written on the page.
Yeah, that comes in bits and bobs. Really, it comes when you start piecing together the costume and the hair and makeup, and what boots you end up picking out. It changes the gait of how you walk or how you stand, and his long trench coat, would kind of wave in the wind, and big rimmed hat. We played around with smaller rimmed hats and all of that kind of, the ring as well. I ended up like kind of fiddling with the ring, and then I realized that's all finger based and he uses his fingers a lot. And then, so little things like that just slowly start coming when the physicality kind of comes into it. That's when I start getting excited. That's when it becomes more than just words on a page. That's when you start seeing the little nuances that really build a character. And then work on the accent as well. I really wanted to make him more New York, but Scott got a bit paranoid about the idea because it goes all over the world, and he didn't want the whole show to get too accenty, which I completely get. But I'd like to be a bit more New York. But anyway, it was fun. And it was the same dialect coach from Godless as well. She's wonderful, wonderful person, Judy Dickinson. Working with Judy on the dialect, working with some amazing people in the chess world, and finding how we move these pieces around the board, and finding out how we move ourselves on a location, in an environment, seeing what Stephen Meisler, our director of photography, what his vision was for the lights. For me, making a good piece, whether it's film or TV, is all about a collaboration with wonderfully talented people in all sects. And I get to be a cog in that wonderful machine that only lasts for a limited amount of time and then it disperses. And there's something quite beautiful about that, and artistic. But it's at that early moment where I kind of, and you've still got butterflies, you're still a little bit nervous, you don't really know what you're doing, you hope you know what you're doing. That is very fun and a bit scary. And you slowly start to kind of build this character, and it takes a couple of days of even being on set. And you're as prepped as you can be, you know your lines and everything, but it still takes a little while to feel grounded in that character. And once you do, that becomes very exciting.
So I want to talk a little bit about that prep. Like, what did you do to prepare? How did you prepare? What was the rehearsal like? And more specifically, Thomas, what were your points of connection to play Benny?
We started shooting in Toronto. So we actually all flew out. We only did 2 weeks in Toronto, and the rest of it is all in Berlin, which is quite bizarre. So the Toronto stuff was only for the exterior shots, just to make it look a bit more American. So we flew out there, and that's when I first met Anya. That's where I first met our key crew. And that's when we first kind of started settling in. And so I bought myself a chessboard, and I just started practicing moving pieces around the board and getting used to the weight of the pieces in my hand, and kind of playing with things and fiddling. There was actually, Benny was also a poker player, but that all got cut. So I bought poker chips, and I tried to be able to do all the like fun. Good at it. Maybe that's why I got cut. But anyway, so I was playing around with fingers. I realized that I wanted to be quite dexterous. Use his fingers quite a lot. I play bass as well, so I'm quite good at finger stuff. That's kind of how I prep. I don't really go deep into a character. I work on physicality, accent, and then try and find a person that is somewhere between what's written on the page and me. So it has to be grounded. It has to come from me, and then I have to kind of manipulate myself with the words that are there and available for me to use. And somewhere in between, there comes this character that is Benny Watts.
So you talked about the first time you met Anya. What was that first time meeting like? What did you talk about? How did you develop not just your character, but how did you develop that relationship? Because I got to tell you, the the chemistry that you both have is just really, really fantastic. And I feel like you really like elevated each other.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you think so. Yeah, I think we both felt that. We first met when we were in Toronto, and we got put in touch via text by Scott, who he had her number, he had my number, and he was like, okay, well, you should definitely meet up. And we were both staying in the same tall hotel. And so I said, oh, come down, meet me in the bar. And I was having a martini at the time because it was like, it's my first job back in a long time. I took a two and a half year break from acting just to kind of step away from it a bit and explore the world and exercise my mind in different ways. And so I was kind of cheersing myself at coming back and looking forward to, and it was a wonderful way to come back with friends and people that I'd worked with before. And then Anya walks in, and basically we just sat and spoke about the bizarreness of the acting world. And she'd just kind of gone back after back after back of doing project after project after project. It was kind of overloaded, and they're just about to embark on this very long and quite taxing and engaging shoot. And I had just spent the last 2.5 years off. So we were in quite different places, but the reason I'd done that was because I'd kind of done what Anya had done previously. So we just kind of spoke about that, about life, about acting, about how rewarding and wonderful it is, how much it affects you, how careful you need to be, how you need to surround yourself with good people. So I mean, it was all, we were both on the same page and yet in different places, and I think that's how we first made our connection. And it was actually really lovely. And so we didn't end up actually speaking that much about the script, which was nice. We did that more later on. And I think Scott just trusted in both of us as actors and our ability. And so when we were first in costume, first on set and first together, things just kind of clicked anyway. And we'd already had a connection on a personal basis, and that makes it much, much easier.
Yeah, I want to ask about that trust. You definitely mentioned the trust from Scott Frank, but what about the trust that you and Anya had in each other? How important is that trust so that you really feel safe bringing out the best in each other like that?
It's very important. Yeah, it is. And you don't really know until the day, until you're in it, until you're doing it. And also there's a little bit of combativeness to it as well. I mean, we were kind of spicy characters, really. We were attracted to each other as characters, but we were also opponents. And I think we kind of played chess, not just on the board, but our characters kind of played chess with each other and would test each other. And so
yeah, definitely.
There's a competitiveness to every scene, but in a kind of a very respectful way too. I think there's a huge amount of respect and a kind of, we both wanted to kind of beat each other at life too. And so that's very fun to play around with on set with Anya. And she brings lots of things and suggests lots of ideas, and I'm up for anything really. I'll jump on board with anything. But I like people that want to play, because I mean the best way of acting is playing. That's really all it is. You get up and you play like a little kid does, and then to have a director that allows you to play around with his words, and then hone you back in and pull you back to something that fits both. So you've got your actors had a chance to rehearse, by the book, and then put their own stamp on it, go a little bit wild, mess around with ideas, and then it's the director's job to pull everything back to somewhere in between, and that's very important. So between the actor and the directors, I think it was just a very good combination on that set.
Sounds like Scott Frank is a really effective actor's director.
Very much so, yeah. And yet he knows exactly what he's talking about with cameras, with lenses. His knowledge of film history is insane. I mean, he's an amazing wordsmith. He knows about timing, structure within, he knows a lot about creating a project.
Yeah, I want to just, you mentioned that you took some time off from acting, and then this was your first project back in quite a while. How do you think that time off made you a better actor? Like, did you come back just like refreshed and revitalized and just with it?
I mean, I assume so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's healthy. I mean, acting is a very strange job, and I just think it's healthy to make sure that you exercise your mind in as many ways as possible. That will therefore make you a more effective actor, because your mind is non-secular. You're open to multiple ways of seeing life, and multiple ways of viewing and appreciating art, for example. I mean, music's very important to me. Just be able to make sure that your mind is not closed off in any way. As an actor, you need to be like a sponge and absorb everything, but also be strong enough in order to absorb it and not hold on to it too. So I think it's something that can pull you in, and also, you know, once you hit some success as well, things can kind of just keep coming. You don't want to say no to jobs, and you don't want to say no to doing more publicity and doing this, doing that, but you can get overloaded. And as soon as you get overloaded, then you're not as an efficient actor, I don't think, or as an efficient human being. And being an actor is about portraying relatable to human beings, real human beings. That's the only really interesting thing about it. The rest of it is a little bit sycophantic and can spice up your ego. So it's very important to stay level, grounded.
Oh, for
so
sure.
I think that time off helped me just do that, and coming back to it enabled me to have an easier access point to making something that was truthful, organic, real, and enabled me to have more fun with doing that and confidence in it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it definitely shows, I gotta say, especially, the scenes when you and Anya are playing chess, and especially as the episodes go on, and, there's one episode, I think it's like maybe the 5th episode, where, you're like, going really fast on the chessboard. And how did you film a scene like that? Was it really choreographed, or were you actually like, did you actually learn how to play it to the point where you could do all that on your own?
It was all very choreographed. I mean, every move is precise, and it had to be that move. It all makes sense. I mean, the chess was designed. I think a lot of it was taken from real games of history. So, I mean, if you know chess and you have a keen eye for it, I don't. But if you do, you could recognize certain games, and they range all the way through the history of chess. So it was just a memory exercise, really, and a speed exercise. And Anya was particularly good at it, especially when she's playing all three of us in my apartment doing the speed chess.
Yeah, that's great.
No, that was all real. That was all really us. They did have doubles in at one point, but we could do it. We could do it. And when we were in the cafeteria, I think that was all us. Yeah. They would just come along, and they did start kind of saying, so the reason you moved that bishop there is because you're covering the queen. That we're like, no, we can't play chess. Please just say, that black one goes on that one, then that one moves to that one, and then that one goes there. And then we would just learn it like a picture, quickly bang it out, try and do it as quickly as possible, and then cut and learn a different pattern, go again, cut, learn a different pattern, and go again. And both Anya and I worked in that same way, but it was quite funny when the chess people were trying to explain why we were making those moves, and that just confused us.
What impressed you the most about Anya as an actor?
Her ability to just be very open, very free, and very present in every single moment. And that means that nothing ever gets stagnant. Things can always remain fresh and new. And so if you throw something at her, she will respond instantly with something that's organic. Even if you mess up or something, she'll play on that. And that puts you at ease, because you realize that, anything can happen in a scene, and you have confidence that she'll pick it up.
What were some of the challenges that you faced with Queens Gambit that were just unique to this show, that were different from anything else you'd ever done on TV or in film?
Well, I suppose the chess.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, having to learn all those moves was quite unique, whilst also trying to do a scene, whilst also trying to run dialogue and look very casual playing chess as well. It's like when you ride a horse or something in a film, or even shoot a gun or something, or even smoke a cigarette. You can tell people who don't know how to smoke a cigarette in a movie. You can tell people that don't look very comfortable with a gun. You can tell people that don't really know how to ride a horse. And the secret is to kind of just look very relaxed, like you know exactly what you're doing, even though you don't know what you're doing. So it was playing chess, learning the moves, and then trying to look like you're not bothering even playing.
What were the differences like when you were doing like Game of Thrones? What were the challenges? Obviously, in addition to the chess, the challenges for Queen's Gambit that were different from something like Game of Thrones, which is also a really dense type of show.
The challenge is the difference between Game of Thrones and Queen's Gambit. I mean, it's hard because, I mean, they're different times, different moments in one's life. And they are different characters, they're different places, different scripts. I mean, every single project I've ever done, and I've done quite a few now, I mean, it's completely different to the next. I can't really compare any. There are no similarities between any of them. Which is, I'm still quite surprised at. Every single time I walk on a set, I go, oh wow, this is so specific to this set. And then I've also worked, like with Scott, I've worked with a key group of people, like a group of people, not just one individual, a group of people on 2 different sets, and they were completely different feels, different vibes, different energies, completely. So it's a moment that exists, like I said before, a moment that exists only for a short period of time, and the certain kind of energy that everyone brings for that moment only exists for that time. And you're aware that you're only there for that moment, so that becomes very special. So to compare, I mean, every job is completely different to the next. What makes that case? I can't. It's quite hard to kind of pinpoint or describe.
Well, listen, I definitely remember when I saw Love Actually in 2003 and just watching your career evolve. I just got to say, I'm just so impressed because of the way you've been able to navigate making the transition from like a child actor to not just a grown up actor, but with very, very grown up roles that have a lot of depth and challenge you as an actor. But what were the challenges to navigate that, to make that transition, to find the right roles that will allow you to grow?
Well, thank you, firstly. It's been a lovely journey, and I feel very grateful. But good people, and that's good people from home. So that's good family, good friends, good grounding. Like I said before, exercising your mind in as many different avenues as possible and not getting kind of stuck in one world, I think is very important. But also surrounding yourself with good people in the profession. So my agents I've had for years and years, but I know how they work. They know how I work, and they're normal people as well. And I think those surrounding yourself in the professional world with the nicest people you can,
oh yeah,
who you get on with, I think that also really helps as well. Because on the industry side of things is very different to actually once you're on set, and that's different from just the audition process, and then that's different from the press side of things as well. So you need good people around you who can help you navigate through that whole world. And then you also need a bit of luck as well, I think, thrown in there. And I don't know where that comes from. But, I mean, it's a multitude of different things, really. And just staying true to the reason why you even like it in the first place. I mean, I like people. I like what sets us apart, and I like what makes us all exactly the same to one another. And I like trying to figure that out for myself, because I find that just fascinating as I grow and develop as a person. And then if I can play around with that and then put that on camera and turn that into a character, and I'm given the opportunity to do that, I mean, that's one, fascinating, and two, just a pleasure. And it then gives pleasure to other people to then go away and think about that and how that relates to their lives. I mean, for me, that's what I love about the film.
There's so much to being an actor, but the thing that really fascinates me the most is this. How do you remember your lines?
Actually, going back to the whole like starting out as a kid, I used to find it really easy as a kid. It's getting harder and harder now. When I was a kid, I could read through it twice and I'd know not just my lines, but everyone else's lines.
Wow.
Twice. Yeah. And then that started to kind of go away. But the other thing is also, it's a lot easier to remember a good script. It's very hard to remember a script that doesn't make much sense. When I'm doing an audition, that's normally a sign I go, actually, I don't think the script is that good, because I'm really struggling to remember the line. When it's good, it just makes sense. So even if you kind of freeze and you can't remember your line, you go, well, what would make sense to say here? And that's normally roughly what the line is. And then you can ad-lib around that and you can kind of just about get away with it. So yeah, I mean, that's actually quite a good barometer of a good script, I think, is how easy it is to learn.
Well, in terms of just how you have grown and evolved as an actor, especially, with everything that we've just, gone through over the last year and a half, for actors who are still in it and still trying to struggle and still trying to make it for themselves, like, what advice would you give?
Don't get too lost and stay true to yourself, because yourself is the only thing that will set you apart from anyone else. And so if you try and hide that and mask it and try and pretend, maybe be like someone else who is getting all the roles or who is successful, everyone will see your acting. And as soon as you can see an actor acting, you go, well, yeah, it's all right, it's quite good. But if you can't see someone acting, it means they're doing a phenomenal job and they're being very much themselves, vicariously through a character. And that's when it becomes organic, and that's when that sparkle comes. And sometimes it's hard sometimes when things aren't going right, you look to others and see what they do. And it's fine to be inspired, but don't copy. And that can be quite a fine line to tread sometimes. Like, you have to really hold on to your own sparkliness that sets you apart. I think that's what I'd say.
Well, listen, Thomas, congratulations on your nomination on 18.
Thank you very much. I know, all of them. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Thomas, for joining us. And thank you, everyone, for watching our SAG-AFTRA Foundation Conversation at Home series. And until next time, all the best.
Thank you very much.